Hello, we will be kicking things off with Ezekiel Berganzi with Super Luchas.
Hey, hello, Rose. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Fine, thank you. How it was this training camp? Because your last fight was last year, and now this 2020 is very particular. So, how was your preparation for this fight?
Yeah, it's been a long training camp. Um, Prior to the Corona pandemic, I made a gym out of my garage and just been like slowly using it here and there. And then when the pandemic hit, it really came into full use. And I've also traveled a little bit in order to, kind of enhance my training. So it's been a long time, but it's been a necessary process in order for me to be where I'm at right now.
And in this fight, got postponed. It was for I think UFC 249, and then it got canceled for the pandemic, and now it's rescheduled. So did that affect you in any way in your preparation, or it's normal?
Um, it actually was the best thing that happened for me, just to get a reset. I was already ready for that fight, but I think having a little bit of extra time really made me realize a couple more things I need to realize, and feel great now.
And what will be different in this fight in your strategy against an opponent that you already faced? Like, which will be your game plan now? Which will be the main key that maybe you didn't have in the first fight against Jessica Andrade?
Well, in the first fight, I didn't have I had some confidence, but it wasn't all the way real. And now I have much more genuine confidence, like real confidence based on my preparation, not just based on what I did before. And then just technically speaking, I think we patched up some holes, but really it's overall it's the mentality and it comes from the preparation, and I think that's the biggest difference. And I'll be more myself, and it'll look more like my other fights where I was being myself, but kind of 2020 version of that, like a new and improved.
And my last question is, can you talk us about how it was this mental process of getting defeat and then trying to rebuild yourself to get better and get the chance to face this opponent again and defeat it? Like, how it was this process of getting okay, if you were okay with the defeat, and then all this process, if you can talk us about that.
Yeah, I had to kind of just stop thinking about fighting for a minute because I wasn't like super interested in it at the moment. And even though I did want to fight more often, there was just something that was missing in my life and in my personal life. And so, yeah, I went back to go see my family in Lithuania. I hadn't seen my grandmothers in like 6 years, and got to reconnect with all of them over there. I went back to see my old coach in Minnesota, Greg Nelson, and that was like a huge. Those were two huge things that I had been kind of putting off for a while, and then I just started to kind of I did some other things on the side, but really just getting back to enjoying life again, and not worrying so much about penny pinching and just looking for adventure more rather than like thinking about money so much, and finances, like. So it was just a huge mentality shift. And then, I went through the whole blaming game and pointing the finger everywhere else. And then I realized like, okay, I need to, fix certain things myself. And that's kind of where it all started. And then from there, just everything else around me just started falling into place. And here I am, a few days out ready to put on my best performance.
Thank you very much, and good luck on Saturday.
Thank you.
And we will take our next set of questions from Mojang Wu with Hupu Sports.
Hi, Rose. This is Hupu Sports from China. I'm happy to see you here. We know you have been through a lot of up and downs outside the cage since UFC 237, and now we're excited to see you come back for the revenge. So, which part was the most challenging for you to get over that loss, and what kind of mindset you gonna bring this time?
I think the most challenging part was just finding that confidence in myself again, and it had been missing for a while, and so it's just kind of figuring out what it is that I needed in order to bring that back, and it's kind of the most important thing is just my belief in myself.
Last year, and after a great fight,
I think your mic cut off. What was that?
Okay, I remember you said you don't think that John Lee vs. Joanna is the best fight of the year. As a great fight should have both techniques and movements that not rather than having too much damage on each other, right? And but many Chinese fans think that the meaning of this fight has already surpassed the fight itself. Since John Lee had been through many difficulties before entering that fight, plus showed the spirit and got a victory. So, what do you think of these comments? Would you have a second opinion after you hearing all these comments?
I don't. I mean, I know that was meaning a lot to the Chinese people. I guess that's like huge. I didn't like that's something that I didn't really think about. For me, there's so much meaning to a lot of like, other fans that from my perspective, it's just a different opinion. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
So, and also I have a last question. It maybe sounds a little bit silly because many Chinese friends started to notice you when you were storing a long hair, but now you change style. Even though I think now it's more fun, it's even cooler. So some guys asking me whether you have interest to restore that long hair style. Do you really have that kind of intention to do so in the future?
Which style?
The long hair style, because that's the style when Chinese fans started to notice you. So they have a strong impression when you have a long hair. So will you someday you go back to that kind of hairstyle?
Probably when I'm done fighting, but yeah, it's a little bit of a challenge to and I mean I think I pull it off pretty well. I mean it was different if I really had like a lumpy head or something.
Okay. I have a last question. So John Lee told me recently that her next intended opponent is you, and she highly credited your fighting abilities in many ways. So is that possible for you two to eventually fight in the cage with or without belt? Do you think John Lee will maintain the title until you fight against her?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, yeah, I don't see for her to fight anybody else until then. So, I mean, anything can happen, but that's what I see happening.
So even if without belt, you would like to fight with her?
Oh, absolutely. I think she's proven herself as a champion, and she's. I always said that anybody that can beat Joanna is worthy of the belt, and is somebody that I want to fight.
So good luck on Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we will take our next set of questions from Damon Martin with MMA Fighting.
I saw in the latest episode of Embedded that Trevor Whitman talked about how Pat Barry has kind of turned into a bit of a head coach, especially for this fight because you guys were training so much at home. I know you've worked with Pat obviously for years, but that transition into him being more of a head coach, how is that, and how is that dynamic kind of helped you going into this fight?
I think it's going to help for this fight because his style, I think his styles. Trevor and Pat's style really complement each other very well, and like I've been working a lot with Trevor over the years to where now it's it's time to balance that out a little bit more. And we really focus on the footwork and the boxing side of things. And because that's like what Trevor's like specialty is, even though he is a well-rounded MMA coach, his boxing for MMA is unmatched. And so that's something that we've really tapped into, especially fighting somebody like, you know, my past fights with Joanna and just like leading up to that. Because against a traditional, just regular kickboxer like she was, it was really like the footwork was something that she was having trouble with. Whereas somebody like Andrade, she's just a little bit different. You know, she's more of a, you know, brawler, and she comes forward. And so the footwork in spots is going to help, but really it's all about, you know, it's she doesn't mind missing punches in order to gain some ground. And so we're not going to give her that. And we're not going to give her that satisfaction. So I think more of a Pat Barry style you're going to see that it's going to stifle that.
You know, I know your journey in martial arts has always been more about the martial arts than titles or certain fights and things like that. You know, you've never been consumed by vengeance, at least in our conversations. But considering the way the last fight with Jessica went, you know, you were winning, you know, pretty handily, and then obviously the slam happened. Was this one you wanted back? Were you happy to get this rematch, or was it just a matter of this is the fight that was offered?
It's a little bit of that, and then it's also like I'm okay with fighting anybody, but yeah, I mean, there is a level of excitement that comes with you know, like correcting all of my mistakes and seeing all the results of my training.
When you were champion, I don't want to speak for you, but it's kind of like a love-hate relationship with that attention and, you know, kind of having the spotlight on you constantly. As I said, you've always kind of been about the passion of martial arts. I think everyone knows this fight is probably going to be a #1 contenders fight. Does that matter to you at this point? What is your relationship with the UFC title as a former champion, knowing that you could be right back in that position with a win here?
I mean, it's a lot healthier now. I feel like, you know, when you go lift weights and you pick up the bar to see how heavy something is. That's kind of what my title reign was, and I know how to handle it a lot better now. But you know, I'm also not. I'm not thinking past this fight. I'm focused on Jessica Andrade. I'm focused on controlling myself. Focused on showing up the best version that I could possibly be, and that's really all there is to it.
And my last question, you know, as I said, the last fight with Jessica was going your way originally. Is there a point of kind of putting a stamp on this performance, getting to finish, you know, getting that kind of dominant performance? Because again, that's where it was headed the last time, and then the slam happened. Is there kind of do you want to feel like you need to put, or you want to put an exclamation point on this performance?
I always want to put an exclamation point on all of my performances, you know, but I'm fully prepared to go 15 minutes, 100% discipline and focus, and, you know, just making sure that I'm making the right choices in those moments. And I always say that, you know, I'm a natural born finisher. Like when I smell blood, I'm the best at that. So I don't need to force anything. I just need to be myself, stay disciplined for 15 minutes, and the finish will present itself within that.
Thank you, Rose.
And we will take the next set of questions from Nesta McGregor with BBC.
Rose, greetings from the UK. Are you okay?
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask you, this fight happens in the middle of a global pandemic on an island. There are lots of people that won't know about being tested for coronavirus. So how many times have you been tested? How careful have you had to be? And what's that like on top of everything else in preparing for this fight?
I think we've been tested, let's see, 1, 2, 3, like I want to say 4 times already. And I've been taking my own precautions, but you know, I naturally just sort of social distance anyways in my regular life, because I'm just not about sitting in traffic or being in big crowds of people unless I don't have to, or unless if I have to. But you know, nothing too much has changed for me in my regular daily life, except for just not being able to go to my favorite restaurants So yeah, I think the transition through all this has been a little bit tough as far as like anytime that I focus on what's going on in the outside world as opposed to my own reality. That's been a challenge sometimes, but I've ever since just like focusing on me and that's it. My life has been actually pretty awesome, and I'm like super like blessed.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you've seen the Bruce Lee film Enter the Dragon. Does this feel a little bit like that? And are you Bruce Lee in this scenario? Are you going to come out victorious?
It's definitely a little different. You know, there's certain things like there's definitely a lot of you know, like just weird little things coming here. It's like a ghost town here, and it's not doesn't really quite feel like an island. But yeah, we've just been in the hotel room, so it's just been a cool like. But so far, it's been a really cool, peaceful fight week. Just waking up like super early in the morning, and then like or I shouldn't say waking up super early in the morning, but like being at the like nighttime schedule has been like super peaceful because it's been really really quiet, and I'm just ready to go.
And the final question for me: we've obviously got coronavirus going on, but we've also got around the world protests for lots of different reasons, including the Black Lives Matter movement as well. You are, a woman in a sport that was always mostly male-dominated. So how important is it for athletes, including yourself, to kind of make a stand against discrimination? And will you be doing anything to kind of show solidarity for any of the movements?
For me, the most important movement I support all of those causes. I support equality for everybody. For me, what I'm on a mission is my mission is to become the world's greatest farmer. And that might sound silly, but that's what I'm using martial arts for. That's what I feel like I'm going to use my influence to really promote the sustainable farming and martial arts lifestyle. I think those two things can really save the planet. Like in addition to bringing us all together. So to me, I support any movement that promotes that type of stuff, and that's what I'm all about.
Okay, thank you very much. Good luck on Saturday night.
Thank you.
And we will take our next set of questions from Pranav Kunkaliankar with the MSL Group.
Hello.
Hi. How have you been spending time during the lockdown and the pandemic? Have you had a chance to focus on anything else apart from training to keep shape?
Can you say that one more time?
How have you been spending time during the lockdown and the pandemic? Any fitness and the health tips you would like to give the people out there to stay in shape?
Yeah, so basically when all of this, the quarantine and everything happened, I focused on, getting more into my garden, and then also training. And those two things really give me a balance in my life. On the one hand, I focus on, destroying my opponent, and on the other hand, I focus on growing something that I can eat and provide for, me and my family. And so those two things really give me a balance. And as far as like just staying in shape, always just doing what you can with what you got and where you're at. Like that's always the best thing you can do is just, shadow boxing is some of the best workouts that you can get. Also, like, I don't know if, anybody's aware, but, vitamin D is like super important. Getting out into the sun, getting some fresh air. Like, I understand that these are important for us, like, while we're around each other and stuff, but it's also important to get that fresh air as well, and that sun, and zinc, ginseng. Those are all things that are really good for you and can protect you.
Okay. My last question to you is, tell us a bit about your experience of being a woman athlete in the world of MMA and UFC. How are the pros and cons of
Are the pros and cons of being a
woman athlete in the world of MMA and UFC?
Yeah, I think the pros are that we're you know, for the most part, we're respected as opposed to like other sports. MMA is definitely something that like anybody can get into as far as for the women's. So like that's pretty cool that that we can be right alongside men and be in a male dominated sport as well. I think that's like the coolest part. The cons, I think, I don't know, I can't really think of any right now. I'm sure there's a ton, but you know, I try not to, you know, any type of challenges that I have as a female, I don't focus on too much. I mean, I think there's always something, but like I don't let that slow me down.
Okay. Thank you for your time and best of luck for the upcoming fight.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rose. That is all the time we had for you. You are good to go.
Thank you.